So we are all in the right order here.
That's right.
Nobody gets confused. So yeah, it was a very, very two packed days, I would say. We learned so much and heard so much about startups, about investing, about what established companies think, about the service provider thing. So it was really, really packed. And I think we had also a great overview about the international landscape looks. And of course, now we want to change the perspective because we have here three wonderful journalists from really respected journalists from German media and want to hear what they think about our industry, about the startup ecosystem, how they think and feel what are the next big topics. Because, of course, they are very close at the pulse when it comes to new topics, new developments, and who are the real experts who deserve the attention. So I would say that you know who's on stage. We have a little intro round. I think, Miriam, maybe you want to say, what is Handelsblatt? What are you doing?
Hello, my name is Miriam Schröder, as we pronounce in German. And I'm working for the Handelsblatt, which is the leading financial daily in Germany, and I'm reporting about startups already for 4 or 5 years now. And I think this is my also fourth NOA already.
Great. Niklas.
Hi, my name is Niklas Wimminghaus. I used to be an editor for Gründerszene, which is like the German TechCrunch. Worked there for 3.5 years. Changed jobs in 2017, and since then have been working for Kapital, as we say in German. I think the oldest German business monthly. But yeah, there's some legacy, but it's a very interesting, very exciting magazine, monthly, as I said. And I'm covering technology, startups, telecommunication, all that tech stuff. I think my first NOA was in 2014 in London, and it's great to be back.
Wonderful, Alexander.
Yeah, it's Alexander Lange, and I'm working for the sister magazine of Kapital, of Niklas' magazine. It's called Business Punk.
It's the younger sister.
What's that?
You're the younger sister.
That's right. We're the younger sibling, the one that doesn't clean up the room. It kind of feels like it, and that's what it's being viewed at, actually. And we come out every 2 months, and we're like the big omnivores of topics. So if it's techie, if it's kind of cutting edge, if it promises to be something big and new, like we try to cover it. And that's why we're here every year.
Thank you very much. So, and of course, the number one question that everyone asked me before this time panel was, can you give us an insight in your email inbox? What are the top topics when you look back in the last 6 months? Do you see patterns? Were there some topics that really spark your curiosity, your attention? Do you see topics that coming up more often, topics that are maybe, you say, fading out or not so relevant anymore? Let us know what you see right now and the topics that you are interested.
Well, the most dominant topic the last 6 months is AI, I guess. That almost every startup, no matter what it's doing, now is saying we're doing something with AI. That's what I see. And then if you go further into that, sometimes you see, well, this is not really AI, but yeah, everybody claims that. Yeah, and then of course we have these hype topics, cannabis and e-scooters, which is in my inbox, but I don't think this is really presenting what's going on in the startup scene. It's more presenting who has the most money for marketing.
So when you see like yet another AI startup or someone claims, oh, we're doing now in AI, I mean, you're not a technician. How you try to find out, is it really the next hot thing? Or you say, oh, you just have a good software or just a good algorithm, has nothing to do with AI. So how do you filter?
That's a very good question. I wish I could read the algorithms, and of course I cannot. So I have to ask other experts. I'm asking investors, for example. This is probably my first address where I go to ask. But I also see that investors, when it comes to deep tech, when it comes to AI, not every investor really cannot read. They cannot read algorithms either. So sometimes you really have to ask experts from universities or I don't know. But still, I think if you ask 3 experts, you also get 3 different answers. So actually really gets harder to judge which
So you
is,
feel that sometimes
going
that
to be a
investors
success.
also do a bit spray and pray.
Yes, I do.
Alexander, what's going on in your inbox?
In my inbox, well, I don't know. It's of course AI, but then it's also going vegan, sustainability, having new work projects, as in purposeful work, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just something techy, but also putting something on top of technology. Because every enterprise, everything is tech now, and so you have to find different things to put on tech and to make it human, so to speak. And that's why the consensus kind of seems to be that we have this tech product, but we also have a great workplace where you can take your dog, and we're blockchain based and AI based. So this is what finds its way into my inbox, because of course we always want to believe in innovation, and we're not the super deep tech magazine that goes all out and doing the mega research, so to speak. Of course, we want to, and we always try to, but we're always looking for that soft thing on top of the big tech things. And companies know that, and PR people know that, and that's why they pitch us that kind of stuff.
So how do you clear the dust? You say, there's hype topics like this workplace 4.0 and things like that. And of course, everyone wants to be now moving in direction if they feel there's a trend, there's a new wave coming up. But also your job as a journalist to filter and to say, okay, that's the real stuff.
The thing is that we always want to also believe in the hype, but the hype happens before the hype actually happens. So like this workplace 4.0 or whatever it is, this happened 2 or 3 years ago. That's when it was interesting to us, because there were tiny trickles of nuggets of information that seemed interesting. Now if somebody's pitching us like a new kind of stand-up desk or something, whatever, or a whole concept around it, okay, this is over. Like this is nothing that you can report on anymore with a straight face. But so if it's too much clutter, then it's not a topic for us anymore.
Niklas, let's dive in your email inbox.
My inbox. I think my inbox is there's a lot of crypto still. You rarely mention that, which I think is very interesting. But I think the fact that there are so many founders or agencies pitching their ideas on crypto is more a sign of the trend fading. That obviously Bitcoin price is down. Like a whole industry has been crashed, and I personally am not really bullish on the technology, but I see that there's still money. They took in billions from the ICO, so they still have money to send out those marketing emails, as you said. That's so I would add crypto is still a big topic in my inbox.
But when you say crypto, that means you believe in the blockchain technology, but not in the cryptocurrencies, or
I have my doubts about
you don't own any Bitcoin.
Not anymore. I sold at a good date.
Okay.
I personally also have my doubts on the blockchain, so the baseline technology, on the question of how big the impact is going to be. We've been talking about this for years now, and I remember I did a big story on that a year ago, and also on the adaptation in the more traditional industry, so like even DAX players. They looked at the topic. A lot of them told me, we're going to see first effects in like a year or something, and it's more or less been fading. The USP, the actual advantage versus other database technology has not been that convincing.
Okay, do you agree? Blockchain, you say it's more not being the next, because this is one of the, of course, main topics where entire companies, investors now going all in blockchain. Of course, I understand your doubt about cryptocurrencies. Of course, there's a lot of storytelling behind it. As long as, of course, we can't pay at Starbucks or any other shops with it, I get this point. But blockchain as a fundamental technology or new way of looking at the internet, what is your opinion about that?
Well, I kind of agree that this has already had a kind of a huge impact, and also on just on mainstream of people talking to one another about blockchain as if it's like the internet now, something that you used to talk about, like in a way that maybe 15 years ago people would talk about the internet. So I think it's already become part of life, and it's found its way into everyday life. So I think it's going to be huge in a way, but I don't have the specific background that you have. I just imagine that like from what we see, that everything's blockchain driven now. Almost everything, everybody, like all the corporations are going into blockchain or have already gone into blockchain. I don't think I think it's too big to not be a huge issue in the next couple of years. I don't know what do you think?
I have to admit I'm not a blockchain expert, so I don't want to pretend to be one. But
you have to decide now.
Thank you.
Two sides.
Okay. No, just I've been curious because I mean here we see a lot of companies is entirely claiming to change the infrastructure from companies, the whole supply chain, things that addressing the government policy makers when it comes to. Example here in Germany, the notary offices, or when it comes to real estate, bridges, etc. I mean, claiming to be that there's a big, huge shift and impact on the society. But interesting view from you as journalist. How do you critically view this, and not that enthusiastic about it as the entrepreneurs here in the?
I don't know. I think I have to, because I just came back from Tuscany, where I went to a quarry where people would have this centuries, millennials old industry of getting marble out of the earth, and it's a young entrepreneur who bought that quarry, and he's like, yeah, of course it's blockchain based and Internet of Things based. So even there it has found its way, and he's talking about it like it's the most normal thing in the world. Where I'm like, okay, wow, you're doing this, and he's like, yeah. And he would
for
just
him it's
forget
normal. For you it's
completely
wow.
Yeah, like that he'd take this super old industry and build it up from the start, blockchain based. Yeah. So.
Here in Europe, we're talking a lot about the decentralization here in Germany, that not everything what happens to the startup world is happen in Berlin, right? We have Karlsruhe, we have Stuttgart, we have Cologne, Hamburg, Munich, Düsseldorf, etc. But also in general in Europe, a lot of startup hubs coming up. Barcelona recently really made a big boost. When you look at, again, your inbox, your sources, etc., what are the startup hubs that you're seeing as a journalist? Is it still Berlin the dominant player? Is it changing geographically?
I would totally agree on that. When I started reporting about startups, I moved to Berlin because of the startup scene here. And I think last year I saw that there are so many companies I would like to visit that are just not in Berlin, and I see especially Munich rising. For example, AI startups. There are more AI startups founded in Berlin than in Munich, but the funding is much higher in Munich, and I think that's a result of a different ecosystem. You have a huge technical university there, and you also have the huge corporates in and around Munich. And I think this kind of ecosystem is something we don't have here, and there is a lot coming out of that.
Niklas, with your magazine Kapital, you're covering also a lot of topics around Mittelstand and companies that are more traditional way. How do you see the state of the digitalization? Is these kind of cooperations between startups and corporates happening? Is it still difficult? I know that you're making also this list about the best accelerators from or corporates that they're doing, and literally every DAX company has a hub or an incubator or accelerator here in Berlin. What's your view?
It's definitely picking up. So I think you look at the big corporations; they all got it. They know most of their business models are somehow threatened, or they have to deal with digital internet, all that kind of stuff. But also the Mittelstand. I think we're just at the beginning, and there are definitely a lot of companies that are not ready yet. Most of them. But they're beginning. But they face key challenges. One is most of them, they're not based in Berlin, Hamburg, Munich, but they're in the northern, like forest or somewhere in the Lüneburger Heide, and try to get the data scientists or coder for I don't know what moving to the little town in the Black Forest. Very difficult.
There was recently an article that no one of the most valuable tech companies is coming out of Europe. It's mainly a game between the US and China. So when you look at promising companies here in Europe, A, do you see a reason for that? And B, is it also that there are a lot of, let's say, kind of hidden startups and companies that you say, oh, they would have the potential, but maybe not visible enough in the big fight between these two markets? And where do you feel is the strengths from Europe when you're talking to so many entrepreneurs and investors?
Well, mostly it's funding and the tradition of putting huge sums of money on maybe promising projects or not. Like just getting things up to fly. I mean, that's one of the pet peeves of Frank Thelen as well, who's always saying, man, we need that much more money and everything. Like a better infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. So that's maybe like a very pessimistic German view, but that's what I learned in the last couple of years, just reporting on these kind of things. Is always, well, yeah, we don't have that kind of money. Like nobody's pouring in just 20 billion euros on some half-assed project that could become huge. So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
On the other hand,
Please, yeah.
woman first, always.
Yes.
Thank you. On the other hand, we see an enormous increase of venture capital in Europe. If we look at the numbers, like when I started reporting about this scene, there was, I looked it up, 2014, I think it was $5 billion in whole Europe, and last year it was already $23 billion, so I think there's a lot going on. We have 61 unicorns reported from 2018.
Alone in the
Europe.
last couple of months, there was several added, yeah.
Totally. Like this. Look at this week. We have Infarm with 100
million, yeah.
100 million.
Yeah.
million dollars. Then we have Adjust with more than $200 million. So this is actually, no one would have imagined that 5 years ago when we really thought no one is investing in Europe. So, but the money, if you look at the real huge funding rounds, of course the money comes from the US or from Asia. If you look at Get Your Guide, raising $500 million recently, most of the money came from Temasek and from SoftBank. So this is an issue for Europe.
Yeah. It's Asian money.
Politicians, they always, and Frank Thelen as well, provide a simple answer. So we don't have enough money. It's easy to just pour more of it into the system. I don't think it's that easy. There are more factors at play. And I don't know if we should play the game of Chinese and American tech investors they're doing right now, so driving up valuations like crazy, throwing money on anything. I don't know if it's healthy and if it's going to be sustainable. I think there's also a question of maybe there aren't just enough good founders. We have sinking founder quotas in Germany for more than 15 years or something. And the good founders, they get all the money they want. And if they take it from Japan or China or US, I don't really see a problem.
Do you see also from the mentality and mindset differences when you interview a US founder, for example, versus a German founder?
Me? Yeah, absolutely. There's always this element of storytelling, of vision that they've got right down to a T in the US, where we are just, I think, from my perspective, just picking up all this this soft knowledge that they already have. I was at a conference last year in Paris, for example. I remember distinctly that there were like 10 people, European founders, that had great ideas. They were already funded. They had all the money, and they were just being asked to present their idea, and it was, well, it wasn't that very entertaining. And then there was this one guy, he was the US guy. He didn't have that much of a, like his idea wasn't that much better, but he was just very entertaining and very happy, and people were just so grateful that he actually, that he rocked the show. So
I think there's definitely a lack of storytelling, but it's also a language barrier, right? I mean, of course, in your natural language, especially in France, I can imagine in French language it would be much better. So when you look ahead, the next 6 months, do you see any new trends coming up, or is it same but different? Are there things on the horizon where you feel, oh, is a new like an industry like coming up, or new kind of corporations, partnerships, investment rounds, or concrete topics where you feel blockchain is dying or growing, or when you think about the next 100 emails that you get in the next 6 months?
Well, what I see. is definitely a trend to sustainability. Of course, climate change is that topic at the moment and will stay, hopefully, that topic. And I think sustainability is not only a topic for business models, such as electromobility or smart cities or whatever. It's also rising in terms of how to found a company and how to manage a company. For example, if you look at there is a huge problem, which is talent. I hear that from every founder, how hard it is to find talent, and startups are competing with huge corporates who need now tech experts too. So I think the most successful companies will be the ones who are able to attract good talent and especially to make these people stay. And that's also a question of sustainability. That's why I believe that this is really a huge megatrend.
But isn't it a bit the same like with AI, that everyone now claims to be sustainability and has their sustainability program and now becomes a green company? I mean, it's the same,
That's a very
right?
good point. If I get an email from a startup claiming, well, we are so sustainable, the first thing I do is doubting that. Yeah. But still, I like this being a trend, and I like this marketing claim, because even if it's only a claim, something will stick, I guess. And
I mean, following up on that, maybe green tech will have its era finally. I mean, we've been talking about that for probably 15 years or something, and there have never been those returns that attract investors. Never been that kind of founders that make really great companies out of it. And maybe all the conditions will change to a point that it's going to be feasible and interesting to start green tech companies.
Niklas, as you're also talking both corporates, startup world, and of course also political decision makers, do you see that Brexit will infect our industry, our digital industry, or is it something you say that will not have a big?
Well, definitely. Yeah. It's not.
In which way?
It's not helping. I mean, I think it's really disturbing to the fintech world, because a lot of it has been happening in London. I mean, Europe is. With all the good the EU has already done, but it's a fragmented market. You have the language barriers and all that, and you're creating a huge barrier in the west of the continent, so it's not helping.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience that you say take your chance to interview a journalist, not the journalist interviews you? Any questions? No one? Oh, one question. At least one question. Okay. Just scream it into the room, because I think we have a shortage on microphones here. Oh, there's a microphone. Perfect. Oh.
Okay, so there's one thing that's been bothering me for a while, and I'm wondering what's your perspective on this. So. We're facing, a huge climate crisis, right? And all the reports that have been revealed in the last, year predict a catastrophe. And it's something that, with the people who, can make a change on the tech scene, I don't really see that. I travel a lot around different tech conferences around Europe. I've never seen really a serious panel touching that. And that's something that's really bothers me. Is it like being ignored on purpose, or do you maybe have different perspective? That's maybe there are startups I don't see, or there is this conversation about how we can change or prevent things from happening.
So you're asking about why there are not more panels with startups that focusing on sustainability?
Why there isn't awareness, or there isn't conversation about what we can do in facing such a challenge?
If you're looking at your own media companies and outlets.
I mean, just 2 weeks ago, we had the Green Tech Festival here in Berlin, where there are very famous champions of green tech from all over, not just the world, but all across the industries. We were actually media partners, so I think there's more going on and more to come. Because as Miriam said and Niklas said, that's a big topic that's not going away, and it can't go away because the reality is just reminding us every day, and I think we will see more of that.
But I totally agree. Mainstream media too long ignored that.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment. I think it's going to change, but there has to be a way we set up conditions that building up green tech technology, green tech models is a way to make money. Now it's not. So as soon as that's the rules of the game, founders will begin pouring in. There will be VC money. It's going to change.
So last question with short answer from every one of you. In your media, we have here more like a lifestyle, tech, punky media, traditional daily outlet for financial news, economy news, and magazine that focus more on Mittelstand topics, economy topics. So when you see about digitalization in startups, and if today a founder would pitch you, what is a topic right now where you say, that's I'm really interested in, and that's really I'm having a focus right now in it, and that would be a great story if we find a startup or an expert that can help me navigate through this topic.
We'll build a great end consumer product, and hope you used to play in a band.
I'm actually in the middle of an article about a startup called Cloud and Heat, and they are doing heating with the heat from servers, from data centers. They provide heating, and I think that's just a great technology coming from the Technical University of Dresden. They even don't have a press officer making marketing for them. And I found them, and I'm so glad I found them, and I would like to read more stories like that and write more stories like that.
So I'm going to write an article about air taxis. It's like the last hype in mobility. And if you can explain me how this is a really sustainable business model and a sustainable model, and it's really going to change the mobility for masses, then talk to me.
Introduced to Karen Steffer that we had earlier on stage. She invested in Volocopter, I think, and also in a competitor in the US, and she is a great expert. I'm happy to introduce you. Niklas, thank you very much for being part of this panel. Miriam, Alexander, great to have you here. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Silo.
Thank you. Danke. Danke.